Hi, Shane Fozzett here from the E-Hypnotherapist Certification and Marketing Program. Now, I've spent the last 10 years helping people learn how their mind really works and how they can get control over their emotions and their thoughts. Now, in this video, I'm going to share with you the 6 steps to help you deal with coronavirus anxiety. Now, right now, we're seeing a second wave of the coronavirus or COVID-19 that's causing even more anxieties and uncertainties for millions of people. And in this video, I want to speak with you about how we can all get better at managing our emotions, our fears, our anxieties, and the uncertainties during this challenging time. Now, this is a really stressful time for so many people because some have lost jobs, some have had their businesses shut down again, some are frail and immunocompromised, and they fear that their life is going to be put at risk, and some are concerned because there's a possibility of this going on even longer than the current suggested timeframes. Now, you likely know that there are some people out there that think this virus is nothing more than a blown out of proportion flu-like virus. But irrespective of which side of the fence you're on, whether you believe this is real or not, what is very real is the restrictions that people have been put under and the laws that prevent their normal lives from continuing without major disruption. I've been approached by many of my fellow e-hypnotherapists in my community and members of the public to share my expertise on how to help people through this challenging time to better manage their mental health and their well-being and help them deal with coronavirus anxiety. Now, firstly, let me start off by saying that if you're dealing with coronavirus anxiety, it's completely normal because the media and spokespeople are communicating the severity and uncertainty of the situation because they know that fear gets people to pay attention. Now, just because it's normal to feel this way doesn't mean you can't improve how you're dealing with it and even eventually overcome it completely. Now, our nervous systems are designed to trigger us into fight, flight, or freeze. And that's a response that anytime we sense danger or our safety is threatened, we feel that. And this is a biological system that helps us to pay attention to threats so we can actually deal with them. It's the programming inside each of us that's kind of kept our species alive. However, this was useful back in the day when we could be attacked by animals or tribes. In the modern world, this is very unlikely, so our threat awareness system has become so sensitive to non-life-threatening threats, such as fears, loss of freedom, loss of choice, overwhelm, and imagined threats. The real threats, any real threat is easy to deal with. If there's a person that's threatening you, you can just stay away from that person. But the issues with dealing with coronavirus anxiety is that the threat is invisible. It's hard to detect. And there's only so much we know about it and a lot we don't know. We're uncertain about how long this is going to go for, the long-term impacts. We're uncertain about how long the lockdowns will go for. We're uncertain about how many waves of the virus are we going to experience. We're uncertain about whether life will ever go back to the way it was. And so our fight and flight and freeze response has no limit to it. And so we experience that overwhelm so much. Now, the fight, flight, and freeze response gives our nervous system the ability to get into action. But with the coronavirus, there isn't much action for us to take. We can't outrun it. We can't fight it as such. And so there isn't any outlet for all that nervous energy that we're feeling. So what can you do to manage and then overcome coronavirus anxiety? So let me share with you the 6 steps to show you how dealing with coronavirus anxiety can improve. Step number 1. First, you need to realize that anxiety doesn't have any power over you anymore. You have a power inside you. And you can learn to reverse how you feel and help yourself deal with coronavirus anxiety to the level that it just won't affect you anymore. Now, that might happen over days for some people, and for others, it might take weeks. But you need to realize that the power of the human mind is more powerful than you may know. You just have to go and look at some of the science of neuroscience and neuroplasticity. It's like having a high-performance car that you just drive slowly. And just because you've been driving it slowly and you've always been driving that way, doesn't mean it can't go fast. It can. Your brain and mind can solve problems much faster than you're likely aware of. It just takes practice, time, and skill. Now, you don't own anxiety. It's not a part of you. People say, I have anxiety, as though it's something that exists and they own it. It doesn't exist. It's a label that we give to how we feel, which is actually a cocktail of neurotransmitters and hormones that trigger that fight, flight, or freeze response. What you do have is an opportunity to learn how to control your emotional responses better. Let go of that label of I have anxiety and in its place, take on the optimistic belief that I'm learning to get better at handling my emotional responses. This is also a very empowering way to self-hypnotize yourself into actually getting better at it. Now, step number 2 is you want to stay in contact with the people that you feel safe with. Stay connected and speak about your anxieties and fears. Bottling these up inside you is like filling up a balloon. And if you don't let it out, eventually you'll pop. And so scientific studies have shown that people who are connected with others live longer. So use social interaction, even if it's through video calls, just to relieve some of that anxiety and tension that you might be feeling. And this is supported by the polyvagal theory that suggests that it's a part of our nervous system that is actually triggered by social engagement. So think back to the adage of safety in numbers, which is likely such an ancient survival strategy used by our ancestors to ensure the survival of our species against larger foes. So feeling a sense of connection will quickly reduce stress and anxiety. Now, step number 3, the next step is to find an outlet for that nervous energy, something that moves you forward, something that builds towards an optimistic future. Now, studies have shown that the average emotion that people feel when they're watching TV or scrolling through social media is actually mild depression. So using TV and social media might take your mind off things and it might change your focus, but it's not a long-term solution. And scientifically, it's actually unlikely to make you feel amazing at the end. Instead, engage in doing something that teaches you a new skill or develops an existing skill or progresses an important part of your life forward in some way. Work on your health, work on your relationship, work on your money, work on your mental health, work on your family. There's a sense of fulfillment that one gets by doing something that requires some effort. TV, social media requires very little effort, which is why it's not very fulfilling. It's pleasurable, yes, just like eating ice cream is pleasurable, but neither TV nor ice cream are very fulfilling. So do some sit-ups, do some push-ups, clean out your cupboards, that's fulfilling. Learn a new skill that makes you feel clumsy whilst you're learning it is still fulfilling. Do some gardening, that's fulfilling as well. So step 4, the next step is to avoid the triggers in your environment that might trigger those old emotional responses that you may have. The same way a recent non-smoker should avoid hanging out with friends who still smoke, just in case it triggers them during a weak moment. You also need to take responsibility for making choices to remove those negative influences from your environment whilst you're learning to get better at handling your emotional responses. Just like a 5-year-old uses training wheels when they're trying to learn to ride a bike during that clumsy stage, you also don't want to bombard yourself with these anxiety triggers whilst you're still clumsy in trying to control your own emotional responses. That means avoid watching TV or listening to the news. If someone around you is going to tell you all the doom and gloom headlines, just ask them to stop. We're heavily influenced by our environment and the people that we spend time with. And you'll either follow someone else's lead or you'll lead others. So do your best to take control of your own emotional state and lead others to do the same. You don't have to be perfect at this. Just focus on progressing forward and give yourself some self-compassion to allow yourself to have maybe a few setbacks along the way. No one's perfect. Now, this doesn't mean you have to stick your head in the sand and just ignore all information. No, it's good to stay informed, but just don't allow an unfiltered flow of alarming headlines and opinions to impact your emotional state. Give yourself a small window of time each day or each week and just stay up to date with a reputable source of information and then just shut it down and then focus on things that's going to improve your life. And then step number 5. This next step is about avoiding making rash, emotional, and illogical decisions that have big impacts on your life whilst you're unresourceful. When people are dealing with coronavirus anxiety, they just aren't thinking as intelligently as they would be if they weren't experiencing anxiety. This goes for any negative emotion. Almost every intense negative emotion will trigger cortisol and adrenaline in the body, which tells the body to redirect all the blood from the brain and the organs to the muscles preparing to fight or to run away. This is the biology of why under stress, when angry, when sad, when scared, when upset, when anxious, we're all likely to make bad decisions. So give yourself time and space before you make any big decisions. Go and write them down. If you still feel like that's a good decision in 2 weeks' time, then maybe take action. And then step 6, this is the final step, and it's about doing something you believe will help you calm down. It might be yoga, it might be meditation, it might be gardening, it might be cooking, it might be maybe taking a bath, anything. Just decide on doing some daily activity that will emotionally release the tension in your body and in your mind. If you're super busy, then just do it for 5 minutes instead of 30 minutes. 5 minutes of relaxation is better than 0 minutes. This is a way to short circuit the brain's habitual responses to keep the body so stressed. And if you do this every day, you start to retrain your brain to de-stress and actually realize it's okay. You are safe. You aren't under any immediate threat. And it allows you to stay in control, stay calmer, and to make better decisions. So I hope this video and I hope my explanation has helped you in some way to help you dealing with the coronavirus anxiety. Thanks for clicking the bell and subscribing, and feel free to leave a comment below on what stood out to you from this video. And if you have any questions, comment below as well. Thanks for watching. Take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that video, click the subscribe button to get access to even more.